Disturbing deep web horror story, Zambian meets. I'm just a little shocked. Honestly, I'm a bit freaked out and shocked. As I was watching this show on Netflix, I realized there are some really sick people out there in the world. I mean, really, really sick. Since I enjoy watching cop shows and weird stories about the internet, I figured I would start watching the episode about Zambian meets. I don't know why I wanted to watch the show. I guess I'm fascinated by true crime and all the weirdness on the internet. I didn't expect to find this, however. The show was about a guy named James Brunton who claimed to have killed and consumed a man after eating him on a website called Zambian Meats. Brunton went by the name of Chefmate50, which is a disturbing name altogether when you think about it. After more investigation, they found out this website was supposedly a fantasy website, where people talked about cannibalism and meeting up. This included the conversation found between Brunson and a miner, where the miner pretended to be a servant of Master Chefmate50, and the miner even received a contract from Brunson, stating that the miner would serve his master and then be cooked and consumed by him. While they investigated James Brunton, they realized it was all just a fantasy for him, and never found any evidence that he killed anyone. That didn't stop them from arresting him for the other illegal and very disturbing crime of recording boys in the locker room. I'm personally not interested in acting out such a grotesque fantasy, but I wanted to see if the website was still up and running. Too chicken to actually enter the domain name, I entered Zambian Meats into Google. Instead of the website coming up, there were links to the show on Netflix, a few articles written by people about the websites and the incident, and then another shocker. A German police officer was arrested for allegedly killing and eating a man in Dresden, Germany, after using the Zambian Meats website. After investigations and a confession from the unnamed police officer, it was found that he only killed and dismembered the victim, but did not eat him. I snooped a little deeper and realized the website had disappeared from existence. The domain seems to be parked at a hosting company, probably because of its legal ramifications. That didn't stop me from searching, though. The topic not only fascinated and disgusted me, but it scared the hell out of me. I wanted to know if this was real and if any of us were in real danger, so I dug a little deeper. Almost every link was related to the original website I was looking for, or the crime centered around its existence. But then I noticed a pop-up window on my machine that came out of nowhere. I'm not sure where the window came from. I had visited many sites that looked like they might have information on the crimes. Since searching, it could have come from any of those websites. The dating website window didn't even look related or real. It simply was a link in the middle of a blank 400 by 400 pixel window that read, "Find like-minded people," with a generic link to a domain I can't even remember. It was just a bunch of numbers and letters .xyz or some other random domain suffix. Very faintly in the background of the window was a picture of the words "long pig" and a torso of what could either have been a human or an animal hanging on a hook. I didn't know. I didn't know what the hell a long pig was. I clicked on the link and quickly found out. What loaded shocked me. I stared in awkward silence at the screen. Before me was a picture of a couple sitting at a dining table, her hand in his, looking lovingly into his eyes. On their plates were pictures of what I can only describe as roasted human body parts. Her plate looked like a roasted hand, and his a severed head with no eyes, and cooked almost burnt with what might have been a reddish barbecue sauce covering where the hair should be. I closed my eyes and gagged a little until I convinced myself that it couldn't possibly be real. It has to be a fake, like the other site. A website for online fake cannibalistic daters to meet and greet, and then talk about their fantasies. These were just actors with props, right? How could something like this be real and so easily available? After convincing myself that it really was a fantasy picture created by some horror fanatic, I took a second glance. It sure did look real. But didn't everything else these days? There were 2 links available, enter and get lost. Under the word enter, in very small print, it added that by entering the website, you do so at your own risk, and the owners of the website will not be held responsible for whatever happens to you or what you do once you get there. I clicked on enter as I laughed to myself. How could anything even be serious in here? If it really did happen all that much, then it would be in the news quite often, wouldn't it? This has to be a joke. When I opened the website, it just looked like a regular PHPBB forum. That's typically the format you get when you enter a forum. It didn't have any special graphics or anything weird. There were a few general topics about everyday stuff like work and family. Then I scrolled down to a group that said, "Are you sure you want this? 18 plus only." Of course, I clicked on it and was surprised to find that anyone could have accessed the forum. Anyone. There were no barriers of any kind, and what I saw at that point really creeped me out. Immediately, the look of the forum changed. It went from the standard blue and white generic forum page to a black background with red print. The topics were meetups, dating, recipes, beginners, chefs, D/S, and hunting. There were pictures of what looked like steaks and bodies hung upside down. In the corners, it truly looked like a butcher shop, but there were no cows or chickens. I reluctantly clicked on recipes. I was immediately brought to a suspectable selection of choices such as full recipes, preparation, holiday meals, family meals, storage, and sides. Before each topic was a bloody meat cleaver. Most of the links and pictures looked pretty normal. There were recipes for stews, roasts, broiled steaks, salads, and drinks. As I scrolled, I noticed the more unusual recipes topics included sweetbreads, brains, livers, kidneys, and heart. Next to each topic was a picture of the human body with a diagram to where all of these body organs existed. I closed my eyes and held my hand over my mouth as to not lose the bottle of soda I had downed before all over the keyboard. When I regained my composure, I clicked out of that section and went to dating. I just had to see what kind of people were into this crazy, messed up fantasy world. I was shocked to find over 250,000 messages in the dating section alone. When I entered the area, it looked like a bunch of hungry singles and whatever else might be looking for a date. Lines of phrases like 44, SWM, looking for dating the right woman, GBM, looking for GWM who can cook, DM is hungry, SWF, first time, and the one that caught my attention, young SWF ready to submit. I clicked on the link of the last listing and my hand began shaking when reading. This couldn't be possible. This couldn't possibly be real. It had to be some kind of roleplay. I'm reading this from memory, but it went something like this. SWF just turned 18, looking for DWM. I'm ready to commit. Take me, I'm yours. I want you to eat me. I don't know why I started the conversation. I really just wanted to see what was going on, so I clicked on reply. When it opened the message form, I wrote, "Hi, I'm Stan, 19, SWM, never been divorced. Do you only date divorced men?" She immediately responded, "What? D doesn't mean divorced. I don't care if you're married, single, or own a harem. I just want you to use my body for yours." Confused, I responded back, "What does the D mean then?" "Oh, a newbie," giggle. "It means dom, daddy, whatever you want to call an older guy who likes to take control. If you're only 19, then it probably isn't you. I'm looking for someone in his 50s who has the experience, you know?" "Experience in what?" I responded. "In cooking, of course. What did you think?" I really don't know. Can you tell me? I waited for a few seconds longer than I probably should have, and then she responded in a live chat window. I wanted an older man to take my body in any way he needs and then eat me. I smiled, thinking she meant the obvious. Isn't that supposed to be the other way around? I found my face burning and turning red out of embarrassment. For some reason, this conversation was going in a different direction than I had planned. LOL, what? No, silly. I want him to do it with me in the kitchen and then kill me and cook me after, and then eat me. I stared at the keyboard, not knowing what to say next. I can't believe there were actually people out there with this fantasy. I felt both sickened and fascinated. I then typed back, "So this is your fantasy, right? It's all roleplay?" Sigh. Another one. What is wrong with you guys on this website? I was told there were definitely people on the site here who do this, and you're just another fake. Not a second later, the chat window closed and she was gone. I looked in the dating area again and found another SWF. This time I was going to play along and not act so stupid. Maybe that is what they wanted. A married 50-year-old man to joke around about cooking them. I laughed to myself, a bit disgusted, while opening the link to the new chat. 50 MWM, looking for SWF. Is that you? I typed into the chat. Hi, I'm Darla. I don't do a lot of acronyms. You're married, white, and male? Yes, that is me. My name is Drake. I laughed to myself while typing it in. I don't know, Drake sounded good at the time. Well, Drake, if you really are the man I'm looking for, then I'm ready. My parents kicked me out last night and I don't have anywhere to go, so I thought maybe I could meet a man like you who could take my body into his, so I can live inside you forever. This is getting so tacky, so I had to ask, doesn't that mean you just go out the other side? No, it means we become one. It's the closest we could ever be together. I've never had anyone else. You could have me that way first if you wanted to, and then take my life into yours. Take my DNA into your body. I paused for a second, not knowing what to respond, and then, You mean you want me to cook you and eat you? Yes, she responded and sent a picture. She was beautiful but young. She couldn't have been over 20. Why would she want to waste her life like this was beyond me. Maybe I could save her somehow, get her to agree to a date and then bring her to the police or a doctor and get her some help. I thought about it for a moment. What could it hurt? I then entered my address into the window. Meet you tomorrow at noon? I'm really anxious to meet you. I would like that, Drake. Before I could get any of her private information, she logged out of the chat. So now what? I just wait around until tomorrow to see if she shows up? Was she at home giggling with a bunch of friends? Or was she serious about wanting to meet up? What shocked me the most is that I actually gave out my street address to her. Was I insane? I really think I was. I mean, I wasn't going to do anything crazy like offer myself up for a meal or cannibalize her. I just wanted to see what a person like this would be like as an individual. Thinking about it a little more, I realized I could write an article on this sort of thing and maybe win a Pulitzer Prize or get a spot on National Geographic. This enticed me even more to look into it deeper. I tried to get her back online to tell her I just wanted to meet her to see what she was like, but she was completely gone. A little anxious, I logged out entirely and tried to forget about the meeting until the next day, but I found my nerves on edge. I was nervous about a complete cannibal stranger having my address because for all I knew, she was some guy waiting to steal something or even worse, really kidnap me and eat me. The next 12 hours were hard. I barely slept, and when I did get some shut-eye, I had horrible dreams about being tossed into a stew with other people, except I was tossed in whole into a vat of body parts that had been stewing for a while, and pieces of meat were sloughing off the bones and becoming one with the soup. and then being fed to people at my work for a lunch gathering. Even my boss told everyone that I tasted delicious and made a better stew piece than an employee. From my eyes floating around in the stew, I looked up and saw their eager faces scooping out pieces of me from the vat and declaring how delicious I was, while my juices dribbled from their chins. I woke up in a pool of sweat, gagging and choking. I wasn't sure if the tears in my eyes were because of the coughing or because the nightmare was so disturbing. After gaining my composure, I quickly took a shower and dressed, then waited for my guests to arrive. When I heard the knock, I opened my door with a little apprehension. I wasn't sure where all of this was going to lead. When I saw her, however, my nerves calmed. There she was, more beautiful than anyone I knew. She was petite, about 5'1", thin but curvy. Her eyes were a deep green, which went rather lovely with her red-painted lips and auburn hair. There was no way in hell this woman was a cannibal, or considered herself, what was it called, a long pig? She had too much to offer in the world to believe she would become someone's meal. "Hi, I'm Drake," I offered my hand for a handshake. She pushed my hand aside and gave me a big hug instead. She smelled amazing, a perfume of cinnamon, jasmine, and cloves, yet a scent I had never known before. My first job was in a department store selling men and women's cologne, so it was just a habit I had taken up and enjoyed. "You smell great," I said. She giggled a little and looked up at me and said, "It's the spices to taste me with. I soaked myself all night long." I offered her some tea and she accepted, maybe a bit relieved. I'm not sure what she expected, but hopefully I fit the bill of what she considered a good fantasy role player. I did have some steaks in the fridge we could cook together if she was looking for a meaty lunch. "You don't seem the type," she said between her first sips of tea. "What do you mean?" "The type to eat people. I always thought that the men would either be really rough around the edges like criminals, or burly, or maybe some kind of secluded weirdo similar to Norman Bates, but you're none of them. You seem pretty normal." "Hey, that's me, normal as ever." "Where do you want to start?" she said as she stood up and began taking off her clothes. I about choked on my tea as she took off her top and carefully placed it on the chair. "I thought we'd eat some steaks first before having some fun." "I'm ready to submit everything to you. All of me, sir. You may do what you want, but I came here for maybe a good fucking first, and then consumed into your flesh forever. Your body into mine, and then my body into yours." I didn't know if this was part of the act or if she was for real, but this woman was as beautiful as ever, and I was a little disturbed on how my libido was taking all of this. I was very excited and wanted every bit of her, but I certainly did not want to eat her. I was perplexed by the idea of what to do next as she stepped toward me with her gorgeous body completely uncovered. "Here, you better put these back on," I said and handed her her clothes. I wanted to take it slower, maybe get to know each other before we got intimate. She snatched her clothes back from my hands and with her painted red lips pursed into a scowl. Even in anger, she was beautiful. I really wanted to get to know this woman, but why? Obviously, she was a bit of a mental case. After putting her clothes back on and grabbing her purse, she headed to the door. She then turned around and spat at me. "All of you men are the same. You're all fakes. You're either looking for a one-night stand or a relationship." And with that, she left, slamming the door. That night is when the hate mail started. I received a flood of emails with ads of all kinds, most of them a mix of porn sites or for erectile dysfunction. I guess since I refused to fall for the junk, I started receiving messages about what a loser I was and a liar, about how I was just like other men. I'm not sure why she thought that way. I guess I had treated her with respect and she didn't like it. When I responded to the text, I told her that I was sorry and that I thought she was beautiful, and that unlike most men, I didn't want to take advantage of her. She responded with a really weird note that said now that she was still alive and hadn't become eternal by being eaten by a human male, that she would be killed and would die in the dirt instead of inside a body. Then the sound of my Doobie Brothers ringtone echoed in my hand, and I answered the phone. It was Darla. If you were a real cannibal and had eaten me, then you had children and taught them your ways of life. Then they would have done the same to their family. I would have essentially lived forever in the flesh of human DNA and soul, along with countless others, Darla cried into the phone. Now, I'll be butchered and buried like nothing. Why butchered and buried? Isn't it your choice? She sighed. That's the terms of the website. Didn't you read them? If I offer myself up to you and you don't eat my flesh, then I am murdered. You really should have read the rules, Drake. I'm afraid for you. I shivered in my chair. I hadn't read the rules. The terms of service link passed on by and I just clicked OK. I mean, everything had to be legal on a fantasy site, right? They probably will be at your door any minute now. They'll kill you and eat you. Maybe if you escape, run out the back or something, they won't find you. Just then she hung up and the doorbell rang. It's been 6 months since all of this weird stuff happened. I haven't used the internet since that night, except when I'm told to. The doorbell that night was the police. They had been investigating the website and had a court order for all of the information. My name and address were right there for them to view and investigate. When I didn't answer the door at first, they had a warrant to come right inside. I was brought to the station and told them everything. Then they turned me over to the FBI. Now I'm in protective custody and they're using me to lure people to random houses. I'm scared though. One of the feds who watches my door at night said something really weird. He didn't think I was listening when I pretended to be asleep. He was laughing while talking on the phone to someone. He said that he had hoped he had cooked the long pig long enough because the last time it was too rare for his liking. Hey, it's Spooky Boo Rhodes. If you enjoyed that story, give it a like and make a comment. Share with your friends. I'd love to hear your stories. You can send them to me by visiting my website at www.scarystorytime.com and click on submissions. That's all for tonight. I'll see you in your nightmares.